Hello and thanks for checking out ChartGuys.com. We're proud to be one of the most successful technical analysis communities online, teaching you the skills to become a more confident, effective, and informed trader. Join our community of hundreds of analysts worldwide working together to learn the charts, generate profit, and achieve financial independence. For access to daily live chart analysis and market coverage, a thriving chat community, along with dozens of hours of exclusive educational materials. We look forward to seeing you. Let's check out some charts. Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. So we're going to look at the USMJ names right now, and I'm going to give a lot of opinions in this video. And a lot of people disagree with my opinions, and that's perfectly fine. We can still be friends. So people disagreed when I said that CGC was starting to see correlation to the S&P 500. They disagreed on Monday when I said money's starting to go into USMJ. All I ask is that you just keep an open mind, and whatever my opinions are, that you observe them with that open mind and see if they end up playing out. So the most important things that we need to talk about before we get into the technicals for this space is, number one, we have hype leading up into the midterm elections, which are this coming Tuesday. What I'm looking for is, does this hype fade after Tuesday, or do we see continued money coming into the space anticipating federal changes to U.S. marijuana policy in the last quarter of 2017, or perhaps the first, or 2018, or perhaps the first quarter of 2019. So that's something I'm keeping an eye out for. We have hype in the short term right now. We closed the week very strong, Wednesday through Friday. The question is, does it keep up after Tuesday? So that's the first thing I'm looking for. Number two, any name that wants to be taken seriously in the US market needs to be listed on a major exchange. They have to upgrade their exchanges. OTC, you can't be taken seriously. And we've seen this now with the major players in Canadian MJ. They're moving. We now have 4 names that have upgraded. We got Cron, TLRY never had to, but ACB, APH, and CGC. As soon as that happened, the dollar volume consistently started to be a lot higher. And I personally, I trade with more money than some people. I trade with less money than a lot of people as well. So I consider myself a small fish in the grand scheme of things. I am by no means a whale compared to institutions and everybody else that's playing this space. If I have trouble entering these OTC names with the capital that I want to, that means there's a lot of people that are holding back capital because it's not favorable. If I get 5% slippage trying to enter a position on a company here because I'm running up the bid and the ask, that is not ideal, and that's not good risk to reward. And the other thing is the volatility of these names, where they're moving up or down 10% in a day. That's another reason that having any kind of significant capital is very high risk. That being said, I do anticipate that if we get any kind of federal change, whether it's descheduling of marijuana, which is step number 1, whether it is federal legalization of medical, I don't think we're just going to go straight to full-on legalization. I think it's going to be a little bit of a process. But if we get these changes, if the banks get opened up to be allowed to play in this space, we're going to see the USMJ sector explode, just like we saw Canadian MJ explode. I do believe that Canadian MJ will benefit from this news as well. I expect them to go up a little bit, but I don't expect the gains to be anywhere near what the US names are going to be seeing for a number of reasons. Number one, Canadian MJ now has a very clearly defined range from the last month, where we have a range of a 50% move. So we hit the highs, we pulled back about 40-50%. I anticipate to trade within that range for a while now. A lot of these US names, some of them are hitting all-time highs, a lot of them are close to all-time highs, but again, because they're so thinly traded, the herd has a lot more impact on the share price, just in terms of average Joe or Jane putting in $10,000. When you get a lot of average Joes and Janes doing it, that's when we get a magnified move. So you look at CGC's volume on Friday, which was nothing noticeable in terms of a significant volume day. It was actually just a fairly regular day. It had about $150 million traded. The most significant volume you're going to see on these names is probably about MedMen. MedMen, we're looking at just over 10 million. So less than 10% of what CGC's volume is seeing is probably the most significant volume on the USMJ names. Some of these names are getting less than $2 million traded a day. So if we were going to see that kind of capital come into these names, again, they're going to explode. And because they're more thinly traded, we're going to see 20% plus kinds of days if we get a news reaction that causes everybody to come in at once. So I'm keeping an eye out for that, absolutely. But again, we do need to see these names get uplisted. The names that do get uplisted are instantly going to get a little bit more credibility from the names that do not. What I'm looking for the rest of 2018 is more heavily weighted, technically speaking. If you are investing in these names and you are just putting your money in and set it and forget it, you absolutely have to do fundamental research. It takes a lot of time. I put out that intro to USMJ video, and that gives some tips and some guides into how to do your due diligence. I personally am going to be trading shorter term, locking in my capital less aggressively because I've already made my gains that I'm very happy with from crypto, trading extremely aggressively, into Canadian MJ, trading aggressively, and now I'm going to be trading less aggressively because my goal is to preserve that capital and then just add to it slowly. So again, the example with MedMen at this past week, I sold early where I was locking in gains on Wednesday and Thursday. We went up again on Friday. I'm not sitting here saying, oh, I should have held, because I'm sticking to my game plan. I'm continuously locking in gains, and that's all I'm trying to do every single day. So I'm perfectly fine leaving money on the table. If that is not your strategy and not your game plan, that's perfectly fine. If I had a smaller account right now, I'd be going for home runs. I'd be trying to get these big, couple 100% gains to build that capital up, but that's not where I'm at. So just keep that in mind that, our styles of trading are going to vary for that reason. So we're going to look now at these individual names. Some of them are positioned much better technically than others. Again, I am concerned with the technicals, not the fundamentals when I'm talking about short-term trading. Being aware of the fundamentals absolutely helps. And like I said, if you are investing, you absolutely need to have a firm grip on those fundamentals. But right now, this is a technical perspective. So we ended the week very strong with USMJ standing out for the third time in 5 days as a clear leader. So that's all I need to see. I very clearly am seeing money going to the US sector and the gains more significant than we're seeing in the Canadian MJ sector. So that tells me pay more attention to the US sector, which is what I'm going to be doing for this next week as well. So KSHB, some of these names are from our top 6 list from that intro to USMJ video. Some of them are not. That was just a preliminary fundamental research list that we came up with, and we're now going to be looking at pretty much everybody in the space technically, because if there's a name that's not strong fundamentally but it's hitting blue sky breakout, that's all I care about. And that's why I got interested in cryptocurrency in 2017. I looked at these charts, I was reading about Ethereum. I said, I don't really fully understand this. I get the idea, but there's clearly way more technical fundamentals that I don't understand. But this chart's blue sky breakout. I know how to play a blue sky breakout. I'm very comfortable trading things that I can chart. So let's go for it. And that's basically where I'm standing in the US sector as well, in terms of disregarding fundamentals because it doesn't matter to me in the short term. So KSHB, significant bull break. We just changed the trend on the daily time frame this week, and it happened on increasing bull volume. This is everything that you want to see as a bull. We had a clear bear break, the dump, the high of the bounce, a higher low, and then a bull break. And again, on increasing bull volume. So on any consolidation that we see from here, we're going to be looking for a daily higher low to form compared to 456. The hourly uptrend is what we're going to be watching. If we lose the hourly uptrend and see a break of this support level, which is down at 575. So 575 breaks, we're going to say, all right, daily consolidation is underway again, and we're going to look for a daily higher low to form because we have a lot of space to work with, and ideally, the bulls are going to be looking for decreased bear volume on consolidation. Again, we have the midterms Tuesday, so I'm wondering if perhaps consolidation gets delayed a little bit for that reason. The correlations to the US market, that's another thing I'm always watching. What's the correlation to the S&P 500? And on Friday, it was a great sign for the MJ sector, both Canadian and US based, because we did not see the significant bearish correlation that the S&P 500 weakness saw. We did see names like CGC dump down when we saw a fresh new low of the day on SPY. It does still have an impact, but again, these US names did a really good job of ignoring that, and that's, again, another observation that I'm making every single day. How are we trading compared to Canada, and how are these names compared to the S&P 500? So we're watching that key short-term support level. If we zoom out to the 4-hour, we can see, all right, we need consolidation. That move went straight from $4.50 all the way up to almost $6. So that's pretty much a 30% move. If we consolidate, we can see the consolidation on the 4-hour or the daily, and again, determine if it's healthy for that higher low, which I anticipate it will be if we break that 575 support. Resistance with the double top, 594, 6 psychological, and then 608 and 622. Again, we look at the weekly time frame here, and this is a really nice pattern. We're looking for a trend change long term, and we're looking for, again, a catalyst to send us to all-time highs. If you give any kind of federal change in US marijuana laws, I do believe that names like KSHB will rocket to all-time highs pretty easily. So look at this long-term trend. This is a really nice equilibrium. High, low, the pullback, lower, high. It was a lower low here, but not by a whole lot. You can see the candlesticks did still hold the support. So I'm going to consider that a double bottom just to make things easy. But we have a tightening range. There's another lower high, and there's our higher low. So the weekly higher low has been established. And if we break 642, we're going to change this weekly trend. And after 693, look at the lack of resistance to 851. So again, if we get dollar volume coming in here and we get the herd coming in all at once, it's going to send this name up to that all-time high very quickly. The dollar volume required to do so is not significant. Look back here in January, we had 6.3 million shares traded. We'll call it an average price of $550. So that is 30-something million in a whole week of trading. CGC just saw 5 times that much volume in one low volume day. So again, the real volume is on these real exchanges, but as long as these names are thinly traded on the OTC, that dollar volume is still going to come in if there's a catalyst to do so, and they're going to run really hard. So we're watching for the trend change. Break a 652 anytime before the end of the year would be a great sign for the KSHB longer-term bulls. We've been consolidating for 10 months, and the bulls are looking to break this range. And again, the distance that we have to cover and the dollar volume that we need to see in these USMJ names to get back to blue sky breakout is so very insignificant compared to the major Canadian MJ names. For CGC to get back to the all-time high from where we stand right now, we're going to need billions of dollars. And obviously for KSHB, $30 million is probably going to do it. So actually probably more than that. Let's say $50 million. Again, a third of the total volume of CGC in one day of trading. Give me $50 million in a week. We're going to see KSHB go 20-30% easily. So again, we need the catalyst though, because if we don't get that news and everybody's hyping and waiting for it and we just drag on month after month with no federal changes, that's going to be different. But the more headlines we see, the more attention. I mean, we know the game. If you watch Canadian MJ, you saw how the articles started coming out and the hype started building and the TV shows started talking about it. We're looking for that same thing in the USMJ space. So MedMen has a ton of volume comparative to the sector, tiny volume comparative to the Canadian MJ sector. So we are looking at a weekly equilibrium likely to form here. And I would look for a lower high compared to the all-time high of 757 and for a tightening weekly range. Again, any kind of catalyst could change that, but I am cautious where we stand right now because we're overextended. Again, we look at the 4-hour time frame with little to no consolidation, and we've gone from $4.20 straight up to $6, a very significant 40% plus move with very little consolidation. So at this point, the next resistances we're looking at after the strong close, the bulls are going to try and come out swinging first thing Monday in both Canadian and US MJ. We closed strong enough that I do believe that we could see continuation first thing Monday. So 605 is a double top of resistance here. After 605 is 638. Again, it's a 5% move before we even get to the next resistance level. And then we're looking up at 7 psychological after that. So any consolidation that we do see, we will look, like I said, for a low volume, higher low to form and for it to be very healthy. And we'll see if we can make this move back up towards that all-time high. Again, dollar volume required to get us back to that all-time high. We're probably going to need more volume than these other names, probably about $35 to $50 million. And you have to keep in mind that the names that we're looking at here have Canadian counterparts that are trading as well. So it's obviously not just this volume going on. We have the dollar volume going on in MMEN.ca on the CSE. So that's important to note as well. KSHB is only listed on the OTC. So make that distinction as well. Watch the dollar volume on the Canadian and the US ticker if they're dual listed, and if they are not, then we're obviously only watching that one exchange. So MedMen, very strong bounce. We're going to be looking for this to continue. Fundamentally, there's a lot of shares that become free trading in the fairly short-term future we need to be aware of, but as long as I'm watching price levels in the short term, that's all I care about. If we have an hourly uptrend, I don't care about when those shares become free trading. So support right now is 577. Resistance, or I should say the next support after that, is 550. So if we lose the hourly uptrend, that's the first indication the daily healthy consolidation is going to be taking place. But we closed with strong momentum up at the high of the day at the end of the day, and we're going to look for continuation. If the bulls can keep this hourly uptrend Monday, Tuesday, they're in full control. MRMD, another one. Look at this weekly time frame. It's a very strong chart. So we pulled back significantly, absolutely, but just like that, on a couple days of a bounce, we made a lot of that back. So we're watching, again, for the potential of an equilibrium. If we pull back and tighten up, but with the right catalyst, the bulls can very easily change this trend. And this is a good one to be watching because we have clear lower highs on the daily chart. And the question is, are we just about to form another lower high with the inability to break 498? We can call that 5 psychological. So if we can't break $5, we're going to look at the potential of a pullback, and we will watch for a higher low. So a bullish entry on a higher low on the daily chart, as long as there's no red flags on volume, is going to have us looking for essentially a cup and handles psychology pattern. Left side of resistance, right side unable to break it, healthy consolidation, and then a breakout. So I'm absolutely going to be watching for that, but we haven't gotten the sign yet that consolidation is coming because we have not lost the hourly uptrend. So if we lose this support, again, of 461, that tells us healthy daily consolidation is what we're watching for now. But if the bulls can break 486, first thing on Monday, we're going to be looking up at that $5 psychological resistance level, and that's going to potentially be in play. So where we ended on most of these names after their 3 or 4 day bounces is keeping the bulls in control at this point with that hourly uptrend intact. TCNNF, some of these names you need to be cautious because of their lack of volume. TCNNF traded about $1 million on Friday. Again, just a fraction, 0.75% of CGC's total volume. So we broke the lower high pattern. Lower high resistance was 1082, and that resistance has been broken. So now, because that lower high pattern has been broken, when we do consolidate, we look for a daily higher low to form compared to 789. Hourly uptrend on watch, and if we lose support of 1013, that tells me that hourly or daily consolidation is coming. Personally, as a trader, I'm staying away from a name like this. I would much rather trade MedMen or KSHB that has more dollar volume to work with rather than one that's going to be illiquid. The bid and the ask spread are going to be high. Trading a name like this is harder than trading a higher volume, tight spread name. So I'm going to avoid TCNNF for that reason alone. Nothing to do with the fundamentals whatsoever, only to do with the trading structure. ITHUF, very interested fundamentally here, looking at the MPX merger to potentially go through early 2019. But this is another one with a pretty long weekly consolidation period, and we're watching for any kind of trend changes. So step number 1 is change the trend on the daily. We've broken the lower highs, but to confirm the daily trend change is underway, we have to set the higher low and then the higher high. That's the confirmation of the trend change, because this move right now is coming straight off the low of consolidation. So that's not enough. Breaking resistance levels tells us to start paying attention for that trend change, but we still have to see that follow through. Same thing as everybody else. The hourly uptrend is the most important thing to start this week. 512 is support, followed by 503. If we start breaking these levels, we have daily consolidation. But we ended the day Friday with bull momentum. So we're looking at 544 and 569 as the next 2 resistance levels, and the bulls are going to come out swinging Monday first thing, and they have to break the high of Friday first thing on Monday to give confidence in continuation. And I will probably trade some of these names on that bull break and looking to lock in that profit shorter term, because we are due for consolidation, but we're entering that buzz phase. We absolutely have these names garnering some buzz, and that can cause things to get a little bit more extended to the upside. Where we would normally look for some consolidation, it might take another couple days before we actually get it. LDVTF, another one, very recently trading here, and this is the US ticker for Cura, C-U-R-A. So new all-time high, big upper wick of profit taking, so we're going to look for a new daily higher low to be established. The hourly uptrend, key support on Monday first thing is 805. If 805 breaks, we zoom out to the daily and say, all right, healthy daily consolidation. Let's see where that higher low does form. Again, this is a name that I'm not going to trade. It's too illiquid for me. The bid and the ask spread are too wide. There's not enough price history. It's just easier to trade other names. That doesn't mean you shouldn't. I'm just saying what I'm doing for my game plan. So hourly uptrend on watch, just like everybody else. We'll see if the bulls can keep it first thing Monday, and resistance will be first level 925, and then that all-time high 980, and you can see just stair-stepping our way up, and we're watching to see if the bulls can keep that stair-step pattern alive. So again, only a few days of trading history here, much more higher risk, higher reward than the names that have a lot more history. ORHOF. This is for your Canadian ticker OH. Increasing bull volume looks great here. New all-time high. Very significant bull move. We look at this weekly chart. Any name that is an all-time high has an advantage over names that are not because it is so much easier for those bulls to see bigger gains with lack of resistance. Hourly uptrend, just like everybody else. Let's see if we actually broke that support at the end of the day, and that's a fluke wick. So that's why I zoom in for more details. The volume behind that tells me that there's no way that we drop down that significantly and bounce right back because the volume is not backing up that kind of move. So good to zoom in for more details so I can ignore that lower wick on the hourly and say that this is the key support. So 677 is the level that needs to hold for the bulls to keep full control on Monday. If we lose 677, we look for a daily higher low to form. Volume profile is absolutely beautiful. It's exactly what the traders want here. But again, volume 10 million. So it's in line with MedMen in terms of the volume that we've seen. And that's the all-time high volume. Keep that in mind as well. Back on Wednesday, the volume was about $3 million traded. So a big bump in volume, but we have to be aware of the illiquidity compared to Canadian MJ names, if I'm not driving home that point enough at this point. So we have the hourly uptrend to be watching. If the bulls can hold this level first thing Monday, they keep control. Resistance is 749, and then we just look at psychological levels. 750, 60, 70, 80, all the way up to $8. Blue sky breakout, bulls in complete control, and the bulls can utilize the hourly uptrend as a potential signal on when to lock in some gains and look to maybe reload on daily consolidation. Bulls have a lot of momentum. We'll see if they can keep that up again on Monday. So again, add it to the list of blue sky names. You could separate names. If I were making lists on, there's so many USMJ names. How am I going to watch these names? You're either going to focus on the fundamentals and say, all right, these are the fundamental leaders, so I'm watching these charts. Or you're going to distinguish names. These names are in blue sky breakout. Put them in a grouping. These names have more than $5 million average volume trading. Put them in a grouping. And then illiquid names, maybe make a list of names to stay away from. So GTBIF, this bounce is much weaker than everybody else. And I know this is a fundamental company that a lot of people are looking for in the US, but this weekly time frame to get back to the all-time high, it's in line with Canadian MJ. Canadian MJ needs a 100% move to get back to all-time highs on a lot of names, maybe a little less, maybe an 80% move or so. You get the idea. So GTBIF is not just going to rocket to an all-time high. It's going to take a lot of work to get back there. So I'm more interested in a name that maybe only has 10 to 20% to get to an all-time high comparative to one that needs a 100% move. So we have a bullish reversal candlestick on the weekly time frame, but it took 4 days of bounce on declining bull volume to even get back to the high of Monday, which we have not done yet. You look at any of these other names and where they're trading compared to Monday, and they just blew it out of the water. They are well above the Monday high, and you can just compare. Maybe TCNNF is one of the weaker ones, but just compare to where we were Monday on all these names and where we stand right now, and you look at Green Thumb and say, all right, it's clearly not performing on par with what all these names are seeing. So resistance here is 1343. We need a daily higher low and then break of the lower highs to change the trend. And the hourly uptrend we're watching just like everybody else. Support is down here at 1189. Anything above 1189 keeps the bulls in full control. And we did see bull volume and momentum into the end of the day. But again, that was on 60,000. Actually, that was after hours. Okay, that makes sense. So let's look at regular trading. And again, the volume is not entirely significant here. Volume is about $1.5 million. So very low volume, not keeping up with the other USMJ names. Worth watching, but I have interest in names that are moving a lot easier. TCNNF, another name that is low volume, and just looking at Thursday's total volume, under 1 million. So I'm probably not even going to pay attention to it. Again, for the reasons I've already given. We broke resistance. We broke the lower highs by getting over 1082. If we lose the hourly uptrend, we look for a daily higher low to form. Most important, hourly support is down at 1013. So you're probably not going to see the names that I'm not interested in covered in these upcoming USMJ videos that I'm going to do probably once a week, maybe twice a week. But TCNNF is going to get the boot from the list. GTBIF probably going to get the boost from the list. But I'm going to be watching it because of the fundamental reasons. I'll be keeping an eye on it. ORHOF will keep it on there due to the all-time highs. LDVTF, can't foresee myself trading it, again, for reasons already given, but I'll be keeping an eye on it. TCNNF, probably going to get the boot. Volume is not significant at all. And this is the name that, this is the list that I'm going to be watching. And I could add to it and I could take away from it, but that's generally where I'm going to be at heading into this coming week, keeping it simple. Again, you don't want to be watching 12 names every single day and trying to navigate that space. You want to narrow it down, and these are currently 6 names that I'm going to be watching a little bit harder than everybody else. Again, I'm going to still trade Canadian MJ. It's way too easy for me to move significant capital in and out of CGC, and if I trade any of these names, I have to do it with probably half as much dollar volume as I would in Canadian MJ. So that means I need twice as much of a percentage move to see the same kind of gains. So if CGC is going to make it easy for me to put in X amount of dollars and it's going to give me 5%, that's fantastic. And I would need a 10% move with half as much capital on some of these other higher risk, higher reward names. So that's basically where I'm at heading into the next few months of trading, what I'm watching for, the names that have my attention, and watching for that hype, euphoric, blue sky breakout surge that we know is coming. It's just a matter of time. And the question is, do we have the legal catalysts that we need? The sooner the better. And this market is ready to explode. So I appreciate you watching. We'll continue to check in. Going to do a video for small cap Canadian MJ names this weekend as well. Continue to watch the SPY and the S&P 500 videos because we're at a pretty crucial point. The next month is the low hit. Is the monthly uptrend going to remain intact, or is the market going to roll over and enter a bearish downtrend? Thanks again. Have a good rest of your weekend. Do some good things out there, and we'll see you soon.